Hello everyone and welcome to another RevFest behind the scenes look. This is for 2022, which we've just wrapped on the final day of RevFest. So usually on these behind the scenes, we can take you around, just have a look at the tech and all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes to make RevFest happen. So really we're wanting to highlight the amazing work of our tech crew and the amazing work of our performing arts and IT staff that go on behind the scenes to get everything working so that we have a fantastic show each year. So we're going to take you on a bit of an extended tour. Obviously just before you've seen our amazing poster art and holding slide art that we just had up. That was done by our Year 12 student Lauren Adair. So that's been featured heavily throughout this week as our holding slide, but also promotional materials around the school promoting RevFest. So we're going to go through and take a look at some of the sound, the lighting, the vision, the backstage recording and all the stuff, just so that if you are wanting to put something like this on, you just know how we did it. And also, you know, if you wanted to purchase some gear, obviously these are the things that we use here at Bray State High School for it. So we've got a camera with us. We're going to go around and have a look. We're probably going to come up to the back and start off with our ops. So let's head on up to ops just to have a look, and I'll explain what everything goes on up at ops. So we move our ops from our standard location inside the tech room into this location just so that we get a really good idea of the show. So we'll start here at our lighting operators. So we've got Keira, who's been doing RevFest lighting for probably 3 or 4 years now, I think. Ever since she started in our tech crew, lighting's kind of her thing. And she's got 2 offsiders today that have been filling in when Keira has classes and other things to do. So we've got Charlie and Seth that have just been learning the ropes, doing a little bit of lighting for a couple of shows. So as usual, our lighting's very similar than what we've got all the time in our hall here. We've got our standard lighting rig that's there. I'll mention a few changes when we get back onto the stage. But again, we're running Clarity, LSC Clarity, and we've got our VX20 wing that we program all sorts of things into just to make the lighting really look well. So well done to these kids on what they've been doing. We move into this thing. We've got a video playback PC. It's not on at the moment, but that's how we kind of synchronize some of the audio and vision after we've done our recording. So what we've got here is our recording setup. So we've got our recording setup. Usually what we've done in the past is run a complete Dante network. So that's from our stage box and our sound desk. We usually then tap in and out from that to get a recording of all of our stage material. So if I come over here, this year what we've been running, instead of Pro Tools doing the capture, which is what we've done in the last couple of years, we decided to use a bit of software by Steinberg called Nuendo Live 2. And this bit of software here captures all of our tracks, and the reason we went with this over Pro Tools just for this year has been that it grabs all of our track data, our colors and our track names from the QL5 desk and imports them straight away. And so what we've done this year, instead of kind of rebuilding an entire session in Pro Tools, Patrick has done that in the past, one of our staff here. What we've done here is captured all the tracks, and then we changed the patches on the sound desk to then take all of the channels instead of the stage box to have them coming in from the computer and playing into the desk. So I'll give you a little example. So if we get the camera nice and close, we go in here and we've got our Dante input patches. So at the moment we have 2 save states, a live and a playback. So we're in playback right now. So all of the things coming from the computer, the Dante channels coming in, are going to come in and populate the sound desk. So right now if I hit play on the laptop, we've now got all of the sound coming from, and I could isolate and I could mute different things, and that's what we've been doing to create our remix for the YouTube clips that go up. So at the end of the show we've captured all of it, and what we're going to do is then play that back into the sound desk, recall all of our saved presets. So over here you'll see that we've got all of our scenes for the show. This is Friday, so we had Super Trooper, Like My Father, James Is Gonna Come, Baby I've Got You On Mine, and Rock the Casbah. We've got those tracks. It means that we can quickly create another mix, add in some crowd noise, fix any little things that went wrong, could be little feedback or little things. We could do that on the fly, and then we're just recording it and then marrying that up with the vision that our students have put together. So this year, that's what we went with the sound. I think it's been fairly successful. It's cut down the workflow in terms about the time it takes for us to then get a full recording matched to the video. So that's been really good. So that's what I've been doing. Patrick's been monitoring our feed over here, as I said, the staff member. So we've got all of that there. Obviously we've got iPad control for front of house if I need to move around a little bit and get some you know, different how it sounds in the venue that we've got here. On this computer we've got QLab running all of our backing tracks, just triggering those off nicely, and then on the left hand side we've just got our YouTube playlists, you know, just to play some house music beforehand. So Seth's been taking care of just playback for those devices here. Now we move to the most important, the vision switching. So we've got Georgia here. who's been our director, calling all the shots, which has been fantastic, done a great job. George is in her final year here at the school, so it's kind of been one of her last jobs that we've got here. And one of our very first time doing RevFest switching, we got Elliana. Pat on the back to Elliana, doing a great job. You can see from our preview and multi-view windows here that we have a number of cameras that are operating. We'll take you around to the students that are operating those and what we've got, but generally we're talking about I think it's about a 6 cam, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cams this year, which is very much in line with what we've got, but there's been some changes in what cameras we've used for the event. So we've got comms running. We're just running a standard Jan's EasyComm. We have used Unity Intercom in the past, but in this case, all our camera operators are simply on wired XLR comms daisy chain there. So that's pretty good. That's our switching position, holding slides. All that gets kind of operated from here with Blackmagic. The actual Blackmagic thing sits in the 2ME sits in the tech room over there. We're just remote controlling it over the network. So that means we're able to send the multi-views over SDI to this front of house position. So they're immersed in the crowd. They know what's going on. Where there needs to be a crowd shot, they can cut to that as it goes. So they've done a great job. We generally have a couple of static cameras, a couple of GoPro mounted cameras, and then we've got a lot of movement cameras. So ones that can move, they can pan, they can tilt, and we'll get to those in a sec. So fantastic. That's our ops section up here. As you can see behind me, we have this in our assembly hall. We moved from PA, I think it's now 3 years ago, because we're just growing as a school. We want to get as many students as possible into the venue. So we've gone from maybe a capacity of 200 students up in PA to now 400 to 500 students can come along at lunch breaks. So we've got our pipe and drape system that we set up in the hall just to give it that, not a huge assembly hall, and just to help with the light, to make our lighting just look that much better. So let's go and have a look at some of our cameras. We might start over here with our left camera operator. So Josh has been rocking the left camera all week. And again, this is our school. We've got 3 of them here at the school, XA25 or 35, Canon XA25 or 35 cameras. So over here, Josh has been doing kind of left camera, we call it, but it's mainly getting shots of vocalists from a fairly wide, not a wide angle, but from a long location, a long zoom in there. You can see at the top of all our camera operators, we have old iPhones, and we're just running a bit of software on our Mac server, which is an ATEM tally light system. And that just will go, when this camera is put onto preview, it will go green, and when it's put onto program, it'll go red. It just tells the student that's operating that camera, they know that they're live at that time. Again, over on this one, it's probably hard to see in the dark here, but these cameras are only 720, 50 via the SDI output. So we have to run out of HDMI, and down here we've got just little Blackmagic converter boxes that go from HDMI to SDI, which is great, which means we can bump up the resolution to 1080. Hopefully in the future we can finally get to something a little bit higher than that. We'll come over here to our dolly. Now, as you can see, we call this the dolly cam. It's on some tracks that you can see. We get this stuff from Glide Gear, and we've got a couple of our jibs and dollies that we operate. So Josh here, another Josh H on this camera. Yeah, he's done a great job. We've had a few other people on this camera throughout the week just helping out. We've had a couple other people, Jack doing it, and Ash doing it, and Parker, etc. So we've had a few people give this one a whirl. Basically, we're running at this camera a Sony A6400 with a fairly long zoom lens on it, and outputting again via HDMI into a conversion box over SDI back to Blackmagic. So this is giving us those lovely movement shots where you're focusing in on the stage, but you can see people's heads underneath. And the students have done a great job. Probably the hardest thing being out in the audience like this is just students sitting on the rails or near the rails. So some of the shots you'll see, they're a little bumpy because somebody's put their bag in front of it, or they've sat right in the middle of the track. So that's something that we can work on in the future, but basically this gives us some lovely movements, almost like a slider shot going across the stage. So some really nice work there. We're going to head down to some of our other cameras that we've got. So if we head over here, we've got Tal, who again is one of our experienced jib operators, has been doing it for a number of years. And the new addition this year is we've rocked in 2 jibs. So we've basically duplicated our jibs of the left and the right of stage. So Tal's getting some great shots. Now we've had some issues with this camera. We've had some service problems with it. So this camera is actually just rocking 720, and we've had to upscale it. So if you've been critical of a couple of the shots, that's coming from this this camera, so it might look a little soft in terms of the focus. But this camera gives us more flexibility, so we don't just have one jib, which we've rocked in the last couple of years. So we've got this jib here, Tal's running it again. We've got that set up to get some high, some low, and some movements. So thanks, well done, Tal. Over here, we've had Jack on the camera most of the week, but we have moved some of our students around just to give them experience in the tech crew. So here, Jack's been on this camera. Very similar, this is our existing jib. I think this is an XA35, but running into a video assist from Blackmagic just to give us a monitor there. And Jack's getting that same perspective, but from the audience right or stage left of movement on the stage. So they've done a great job. And again, Jack's right here, right next to the stage, so he's able to get some nice close shots that's there. I think we've done most of the things out of front of house that we've got. We've tried to this year just get a little bit more dampening in the room, just for acoustics for the live. And so we've put in some carpet as well, just some carpet runners on the sports floor, just to help, just to absorb a little bit more of those reflections for the sound. So let's go on stage and we'll continue with some of our camera stuff. Now, our stage crew's been nice and quick getting some things packed down, but I'll just take you through the cameras that we've got over here. So over on side of stage, we've got a couple of students rocking a gimbal cam. So this is rocking an A6600, a Sony camera. And so these are some of those nice gimbal shots. So it's sitting on a Ronin S2 gimbal that we have, and we're actually shooting this behind the scenes with this camera right now. And the person doing most of the shooting has been our student in the tech crew, Noah.
I don't know what happened to the screen.
It's okay. So Noah's been rocking the camera for most of this tech crew event. So for RevFest, it's been a nice addition because we can get him out on the stage and we can move him around and get some interesting shots that's there, which is fantastic. So we've got that all set up. So we've got the motorized zoom on a fixed lens. So it gives us a really nice additional shot to RevFest. And obviously we've got a couple of other students. So we've got Ash and Parker helping out backstage, and they've been filling in on different cameras, as I've mentioned. But most importantly, they're running cables out to Noah's camera, and sometimes they've been taking over as well on the camera. So it's given us a nice look, and we really like that shot. Just to kind of finish the video side of it and our cameras, we have our 2 GoPros, pretty standard for a RevFest setup if you've watched for a number of years. We've got our GoPro on the keyboard, and we've also got our GoPro overhead of the drums, just to give that audience perspective or that back of the stage kind of shot, and they're quite fixed. So that's pretty cool. So let's just briefly touch on the lighting system. So if we kind of have a look here, we've usually had our 2 movers. So we've got our intimidators up on stage. Instead of just 2, we often put 2 up in our lighting bar. We've actually put 4 down on the stage risers at the back, which has been really good. Just gives us a different look, some more kind of beam shapes and things like that coming from the stage. So that's been great. We'll talk about the backline. So you might notice that we've got a drum kit, we've got a keyboard, but there's only 1 amp on the stage. And if you've been watching all week, you'll see that we have many other instruments and many other guitarists playing. So we've really aimed to have almost a silent stage as much as possible, and trying to just reduce the backline. So if I come over here, we've got a couple of things going on. We do have 1 amp, and that's just because we needed to have 1 amp to do the 3rd guitar for some of the staff acts. But we've got Mr. Robbins, one of our music and guitar teachers here at the school. He's got one of these fancy Line 6 Helix pedal boards, and we've been running bass and our 2nd electric guitar through that. Again, we've got no amps on stage for that. It's just simply going into our front of house and feeding back. Now, on the floor, you'll notice that we do have some wedges, but this year our big thing was trying to get away from the wedges and for us to try and have in-ears. And I'll talk a bit more about that when we get backstage. But we do have them here just in case that didn't work. And for some of our groups, we really wanted to, they still like to have the fold-back sound that's there. As you can see, our drum kit, we've just started to pack that down, but pretty standard mic setup for it. We've got, the overheads and snare, kick, tom. Pretty standard stuff that we've got there. Up on the rise, we've got lots of instrument mics. We had many things like our string ensemble, jazz ensemble, groups that we needed instrument mics for. So we've rocked those with our NT5s, our Rode NT5s that we have. So pretty standard, not fancy kind of drum mics that we've got here at the school. So mostly SM57s. I think it's a Beta 58 on the kick. So just pretty standard kind of drum stuff that's there. We come over here. We've got our hazer, part of our lighting set up there as well. So hazer, just giving that nice beams for our lights, and it really makes a difference in terms of how we can see the lights and the movers for the live show. At this point here, we have our DIs, which are going in from, again, Mr. Robbins' second pedal board, one that he's built over the years. And we've done this for our first electric guitar, as well as an acoustic guitar setup. Our piano, Roland RD700 SX, and again, as I mentioned, a GoPro fixed on it. So we might head to the side of stage. I'm not sure how the lighting will be back here. Just let me know, Noah. But I think we're pretty good. Nice, we'll ramp that up. So we run mostly Sennheiser gear. Oh, nice, we got a little light at the background. We've got mostly Sennheiser gear here for our wireless units. So we're rocking Sennheiser at the top. We use Crestron automation in the hall here for all of our sound system manipulation and touch panels and things like that. So that's all this stuff here. But the heart of the operation obviously is our Yamaha Rio 3224 D2, which is for capturing all of the sound on stage. So that's our stage box, putting it into the Dante network. And then we've got amps and patches. Now we've done, just to keep the stage nice and neat, we've run a lot of kind of stage boxes out. So we've got a stage box at the front for the things that need to be plugged in up there. Things like our audience mics, which you might have noticed before, which are our shotgun Rode NTGs at the front, but also for anything that needs plugged in at the front. And then we've got one running to the back of stage for our backline. Over here is the real new addition. Again, keeping with Sennheiser gear, we've got our wireless IEM transmitters that are here. And we've got about, I think we've got 6 in total. There's one missing from here because it's at front of house at the moment. And really we only ran 4, but we ran them kind of in mono mode. So instead of running them in stereo, each of the transmitters is able to send that to 2 receivers because they have a left and a right input. So at any one time, I think for this gig, we ran 7 IEMs for some of the staff bands and some of the student bands that were there. So that's where that is. And underneath here, we've just got our distro for lighting and our, obviously, we've got our DMX splitter and things like that there, as well as a dimmer. So that side of stage. If we kind of move backstage, that's where the magic happens really, and trying to keep everything operational. So back here we've had Mr. Robbins, who's just ran a fantastic show, making sure acts are out there on time, making sure that we have all the gear ready. I think they've made, I don't know, maybe one mistake out of the 30 acts that we've had for RevFest 2022. So they've done a great job. Now, helping Mr. Robbins, we have had Sam and Sean, 2 of our students in grade 10. So they've been helping, bringing out mic stands, music stands, clearing the stage. It's been fantastic. They're getting great experience as kind of stage hands. So over here, this is where we've got like all of our stuff that we set up. So firstly, we've got iPads. Now when we did sound checks for all of our acts, we gave them all an iPad to get their in-ear mix just right. So we use the Yamaha QL5, as I said, and what we have here is this mix app. And so they can go through here, find the song, and be able to control what's going on into their IEM. So that really helped. And then obviously we just saved that as a scene, so then we can recall it when their performance actually happens. We've obviously got hygiene and wipes and things like that for some of the shared gear. But over here, we this year are using rechargeable batteries. I was sick of throwing out AA batteries and using them up at a great rate for events like this and for musicals. So we've moved over to IKEA Lada batteries, which are essentially rebranded Panasonic Eneloop batteries, which are highly regarded rechargeable batteries. So we've got a whole heap of them here, and that's for all of our wireless transmitters and also our belt pack receivers for the IEMs. Of course, we've got drumsticks for those drummers that don't bring them. We've also got our IEM, so here's our belt packs all labeled here, ready to go. Now what we did this year is we wanted to provide some IEMs for students. We didn't really want them to actually have to purchase their own earphones. So we've got a whole heap that we bought. Now we kind of went with something cheap, so we went with some headphones that what I would call Chi-Fi, which is Chinese hi-fi brand, and we tried to find ones. I think these were about $35 each off Amazon. You can get them cheaper if you get them from China, but we're just having troubles getting them here in time. So these ones here are 7 hertz, and they're called the, I think it's called the Salt Notes Zero. And so we had to, fit everybody with the right ear tip, and then now we'll have to clean them all and things like that. But as you can see, some people had their own dedicated set. Sometimes we were having to move tips around just to make sure that everybody was comfortable, that they had good isolation, they could hear the things they wanted to hear in their IEM. So on the whole, I think we had some mixed experience with the IEM. Some of the students, it's a bit to learn how to use them and how to perform with them. But I think it was good in terms of maintaining fairly silent stage and being able to get a great mix front of house and a great mix for the recordings. So we'll continue backstage a little bit. We've got lots of other things. Like we had our strings doing lightsabers, so we had all sorts of LED lights clipped onto bows for the Star Wars song that they did. We got sconce lights and all sorts of junk, costume changes here, TVs ready to go. But I'll take you into our tech room just to finish our tour. I think we've gone through most of the stuff, but over here we've got our tech room, which usually is where we have all of our, we obviously ignore all the rubbish, but where we keep all our cable packers and everything else there. But over here, this is where we were running our capture. So down here, we have our base units for our comms, but we also have the ATEM2ME production switcher, which is what we're controlling from front of house. This is where we charge and we lock everything up and we store things. So over here is where we were capturing though the video. And so over here, we were capturing in OBS because that just fits in with our streaming setup that we use for assemblies and other events. So we're capturing that. We then marry it up with a recorded mixdown. So I think that's the full tour. I think I've given you the works of everybody. I just wanted to thank our amazing tech crew. So our tech crew is students throughout grades 8 through to 12 here at Bray Park, and we have students, a good mixture of boys, of girls. We've got lots of people that love working with technology. And so RevFest is really a culmination of all the stuff that we do week after week, learning. We have Thursday afternoon training sessions, but we also have Friday assemblies that we're doing. But any of these big school events, we're obviously heavily involved. So thank you to everybody involved in the tech crew. A big shout out to some of our staff. So Patrick Dillon, who's our one of our IT techs, he helps heaps with making sure that all of our IT infrastructure works, all of our sound, and he's also in charge of the recording. Big shout out to Mr. Robbins, Mr. Daniel Robbins, who's our music teacher, guitar teacher here, runs Backstage, does so much of the organisation, the sound checking, making sure our run sheets are perfect. Big shout out to Mrs. Emily Hope, who's our music, drama and vocal teacher here at the school, helping with sound checking and giving advice back to students on things. So there's big stuff, but I've also got all the other performing arts stuff that help managing the doors, managing Backstage and things like that. So Ms. Courtney Fegan, we've got Ms. Nicole Johnson, Ms. Amber Kerr as well, all helping out throughout this event. So a huge thank you to all those staff and all the students because it's been a huge undertaking, many hours of setup, many hours of pack down that we're about to start now. So really huge thank you to those students. So for those people watching on YouTube, if you've got questions about our setup here at Bray Park, or you're wanting to do something similar at your school or somewhere else, just let us know. Happy to respond to the comments down below. Because we really want to share what we do here so that you could do it in your own school or your own organisation. If that's something that you're interested, just put some comments and reach out and we can have a chat. So once again, thank you. We look forward to seeing you next year for RevFest 2023. I'm not sure how many years it's been, but it's definitely, I think it's over 12 years now that we've been running it. So a huge thank you to all involved, and we will see you next year. Bye for now.